Richard, welcome back to another episode of the Top Running Backs. Before we get started for this week, I just want to kind of review how you did last week. I'm calling them all. 21 of 26 running backs you got right. Anything you want to add to them?
Absolutely. We picked 30 running backs, but again, we did this early in the week, so we included Derrick Henry, James Conner, Carlos Hyde, and Sony Michel. 4 guys that we're going to give ourselves a pass on because they did not play. So that puts us at 26. Of those 26 players, 21 made the top 30, which is 21 of 26, which is a boom. That's excellent. And we really should have hit on more, but we had Jeff Wilson on the list, and we're not giving ourselves a break on that one, right? Because we picked Jeff Wilson, who played, but we didn't think McKinnon was going to play. Right? McKinnon played, dominated the San Francisco backfield, which made Wilson's pick, a waste. And but 21 of 26 is amazing. So I'm very happy.
All right. So let's get started for the top 30 running backs for week 5.
Okay, and number 1, we have Alvin Kamara, who is home against the Chargers. Kamara can do everything. The only issue here is Latavius Murray. Got some goal line touches and got some scores, but New Orleans is going to be running a lot, and there is enough scoring for both, and Kamara's a beast. And number 2, we have Dalvin Cook, who will be at Seattle. We've talked about the Seattle defense and the issues they've had. And Dalvin Cook can do it all. So even if they have to turn to the passing game to keep up with Seattle, Kirk Cousins will be looking for Dalvin Cook. And number 3, we have Ezekiel Elliott, who is home against the Giants. This is the game for Elliott to finally break out and have that week that everybody expects from him. Right? He's been good so far and not exceptional. If it doesn't happen this week, you got to start to wonder what's going on. But they're playing the Giants at home. Number 4, Derrick Henry. Welcome back, Derrick. He'll be home against Buffalo. Hopefully he gets his usual 25 to 30 touches. So Ryan, what do you think about Derrick Henry this week?
I think Derrick Henry is not going to be ranked in the top 5. That Buffalo defense is pretty strong. They're going to need Tannehill to do well to succeed. I think they're going to depend on Tannehill this week. Derrick Henry's going up against a tough defense. It's going to be tough to see him in the top 5.
Number 5, James Conner, who will be home against Philadelphia. I like James Conner a lot. He's been a big part of the Pittsburgh offense so far. They're using him a lot. He is the bell cow back there. And number 6, we have Kareem Hunt, who will be home against Indianapolis. Tough defensive matchup, but now Kareem Hunt is the guy in Cleveland with Nick Chubb unfortunately being injured. And we know what Kareem Hunt can do. And with limited touches, he's been in the top 20, maybe even higher so far this season in standard leagues and PPR, even more so in PPR. And now that he's the guy, I'm sure Cleveland will give carries to other backs, but I think Kareem Hunt is going to be a top 10 bank for as long as Chubb is out. Ryan, what do you think?
This is the matchup I am dying to see play out. Going against Indianapolis Colts, the number 1 rush defense in the league. Super excited to see how this pans out.
Number 7, Joe Mixon, who will be at Baltimore. Tough matchup, but Joe Mixon is coming off the best game of this season. What do you think about Joe?
I said earlier that they're going to have to figure out the run-pass ratio with Joe Burrow, trying to set him up. Joe Mixon, I think he's got 151 rushing yards last week, 30 receiving yards. He's doing well. I like that offense is just chugging along. I think they're figuring out that mix. Joe Mixon's back. He's going to be back for the rest of the season.
And number 8, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who will be home against Las Vegas. The problem with Edwards-Helaire, as we've been talking about the whole season, from even the preseason, are the touchdowns, right? Smallish back. Are they going to use someone else on the goal line? So far, he has plenty of yardage, but only one touchdown. And that one touchdown was a long run. So that is the drawback. But great offense, and he is their lead runner. And number 9, we have Mike Davis, who will be at Atlanta. So Mike Davis debuts in our top 10. What can you say? He's been great with Christian McCaffrey out. He's been Carolina's guy, but I think he loses all value once McCaffrey comes back. But for now, he's in our top 10. At number 10, we have Jonathan Taylor at Cleveland. A little frustrating with Jonathan Taylor. You want Indianapolis to give him the ball more. Unfortunately, they're also giving Wilkins and Hines some touches. But hopefully, he's been getting more and more every week, and hopefully that trend continues. At number 11, we have Josh Jacobs at Kansas City. Man, Josh Jacobs, after that great week 1, has been going downhill. Brian, what do you think?
Well, you said it, right? So week 1, 3 touchdowns, had a stellar fantasy performance. Right now, he's the number 9 running back in fantasy points, but I think they're going away from him. I don't see enough screen passes. I don't see enough interesting ways to give him the ball. I just don't see them utilizing him well. I think they're passing a lot, taking away a lot of carries. So I don't know what's going on with that offense.
Like I told you last year, I had Josh Jacobs in 2 leagues last year. So I paid close attention to Raider games. And I just didn't see that explosiveness toward the end of the season. And again, this season, he does a lot of things well, but he's not the guy that's just going to explode and have, an 80-yard run or doesn't have that quick burst. And it's translated so far into 3.6 yards a carry, which is not good. At number 12, James Robinson at Houston. So James Robinson probably had his worst game of the season this last season, and some people are a little down on him after he had been the darling, the underdog running back that came out of nowhere. But we'll still keep him at number 12. He does a lot of things well. He's got a good matchup. At number 13, we have Miles Sanders at Pittsburgh. Miles Sanders, guy, very talented, can run well, catch the ball out of the backfield, but he's playing against a tough Pittsburgh defense. That's why we have him all the way down at 13. What do you say, Ryan?
I agree with you. He's not going to have a good game. That Pittsburgh defense playing at Pittsburgh, it's going to be a tough challenge for him. So
yeah, I like him at 13 regardless, just because he's going to get touches. He's a focal point of that Eagles offense. And number 14, we have, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break here. I'm going to say if Mostert plays, he's our guy at 14. If he doesn't, then it's going to be McKinnon. So it's going to be the San Francisco backfield at number 14, either Mostert or McKinnon. At number 15, we have Todd Gurley, who'll be home against Carolina fresh after scoring 2 touchdowns this Monday night. Todd Gurley, he shows us something. He still has a little bit of a burst, but it's just, again, the way they limit his touches that, for fantasy owners is a nightmare. And number 16, we have Chris Carson, who'll be home against Minnesota. Chris Carson, after we thought he wasn't going to play in week 4, played and scored a couple touchdowns against the Dolphins. So we're keeping him here in the top 20. At number 17, David Johnson, who'll be home against Jacksonville. Hopefully now that, new coach, maybe they'll open up that offense. Maybe Deshaun Watson can do a little more, and that's going to free, David Johnson for some big plays. And Ryan, you're shaking your head. You don't think so? What do you
I just, there's a lot going on there. I don't know if they're just going to be tanking for the rest of the season. They're in a 0-4 hole. To pull out of that and to get all these guys motivated, it's going to be very tough.
They are home against Jacksonville, so it's a good matchup. It looks like it's going to be their first win of the year. 18, we have Devin Singletary, who will be at Tennessee. So Singletary looks like he is the lead back now, having a season high 18 carries in week 4. So that's why we have him at 18, and we think he's going to keep climbing. That Buffalo offense is good. 19, we have Melvin Gordon, who will be at New England. Tough matchup, but New England, especially if Cam Newton's not going to play, they're going to be vulnerable, and Denver's going to have more offensive series than they normally would. And Melvin Gordon is their do-it-all guy who just came off a great week 4. At number 20, we have Ronald Jones, who will be at Chicago. All he did was take 20 carries and make 111 yards out of them this past week. So he looks like Tampa Bay's lead back, and we're going to put him in our top 20. At 21, it's the falling Kenyan Drake, who will be playing against the Jets, at the Jets. Good matchup. But Kenyan Drake hasn't looked very good so far this season. His touches have been a little inconsistent, and last game he kind of got banged up. You know, in standard leagues to date, he's the 34th running back, a guy that most people took in, you know, the top 14 as far as running backs are concerned. So he hasn't given you value. They need to include him more in the passing game. He only has 5 receptions so far this season to include 0 in week 4. So he needs to catch some passes, and I think that's just going to open everything up for him. At number 22, Damien Harris will be home against Denver. He looked good as New England's lead back on Monday night. They had a tough matchup against Kansas City, and they fed him the ball. He was their lead back, and especially Sony Michel out. I think against Denver, a team that they can definitely beat at home, I think Damien Harris is going to have a big game. Number 23, Joshua Kelley at New Orleans. With Eckler out, with Austin Eckler out, Joshua Kelley is going to be the man in Los Angeles with the Chargers. And so far this season, he's proven that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He could be a good runner. Now that he's the guy, I think we can firmly place him in the top 30. At number 24, we have David Montgomery home against Tampa Bay. Tough matchup, but Montgomery is Chicago's guy. He's going to get touches. We're putting him at 24. At 25, Devonta Freeman at Dallas. He looks to be the Giants guy, and he has a great matchup against Dallas. What do you say, Ryan?
Yeah, this is the matchup that I think he's gonna run all over that Dallas defense. They're ranked 31st. It's going to be an up and down game. I think a lot of people aren't looking for the Giants to be anything but a pushover. I think it's going to be a tough matchup. I think he's going to get his carries. He's going to get his yards. I like him a little higher than 25, though.
We still don't know what to expect. That's why I kept him at 25. At 26, we have Antonio Gibson, who will be home against the Rams. At number 27, it's going to be the Miami Dolphins featured back, Myles Gaskin, who has, the whole season led the team in touches. So we're going to put him in the top 30. And at number 28, Mark Ingram. I have him in my top 30 every week because I know what he can do when he gets touches. He's not getting the touches is the problem. But what happened last week? He got in the end zone, which is what every good bulldozer does. And he was in the top 30. So hopefully that happens again. So I'm keeping Mark Ingram in, and then I'm putting the other bulldozer in, Latavius Murray for New Orleans, who scored 2 touchdowns last week. I think New Orleans is going to keep doing what they're doing. They're going to be running a lot, especially if Michael Thomas doesn't play. And I think Latavius Murray is also going to get a touchdown. So for that reason, he's in our top 30. And then number 30, Darrell Henderson, who let us all down in week 4. Not really his fault, right? Malcolm Brown got all the carries. I don't know what's going on with the Rams backfield. It's a good offense. When Cam Akers comes back, who's going to get the ball? Is it going to be a 3-headed monster? That's going to be bad. But for now, we're going to put Darrell Henderson at number 30.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on here and sharing your top 30 running backs. Like always, good luck to you in this week's fantasy football. And thanks for sharing all your tips and insight.
Well, good luck to you. Good luck to everybody that watches our video. Hopefully everybody gets a fantasy win this week.